Bismillahirrahmanirrahim and welcome you all to news reporting course. This course has a course code of GMC 225. This is lecture number 11 and in the part 2 we are going to discuss news values. I'm Anwar Khan, lecturer journalism and mass communication department, Cohort University of Science and Technology. So let's have a look at the agenda points, the concepts that we are going to discuss and elaborate in our today's session. So first of all, in the part one, we are going to have a look at the summary of the part one. In this, I will be presenting the brief summary of the part one so that students can understand the bridge or the linkage between the part one and the part two, right? So it will be a summary of the part one, and then I will be presenting or discussing some of the news values because this is the part two and we are going to conclude our this session in the part three. So some of the news values we are going to discuss in our part two, right? And then interestingly, we are going to answer some questions, the questions that may arise in the minds of the students. So we are going to deal with those questions and we will be answering those questions. So these are the some of the points that we will be elaborating and dealing in our today's session. So these are the concepts that we have already discussed in the part one. We came to know about the background to news values and we discussed the definitions of the news values and also the history of the news values. And then different amendments which were made in the news values, we discussed them quite in detail. And we came to know that how different scholars, they said that they have their own division of the news values. And it will be more appropriate if the scholars, they follow our news values, right? And then we discuss one of the component of the news values, that was the timeliness. So these are the some of the concepts that we discussed in the part one, and let me repeat it again, that the core idea, the central idea remained the same. It was the news values. Everyone agreed that news values helps the journalist to understand which information is newsworthy and which is not newsworthy. The only differences came later on, that some of the journalists, they agreed with the already 12 factors which were presented in 1965, while others said that there could be some new developments, new amendments in the news values. So these are the news values that we are going to discuss in our today's presentation, and this the first one, timeliness. We have already discussed it in the part one, so we are skipping it and we are not discussing it. Other news values, prominence, magnitude, proximity, controversy, unusualness, adventure, and human interest. We are going to explain them in our today's presentation. So the second news value is called prominence, and I hope that you will know the meaning of the prominence. It means famous and well known. So let's discuss that how this very component has been associated in the field of journalism and the communication. So it means that audiences, we know about the audiences, the role of the audiences, and how they affect the media industry. So these audiences basically love to know about well-known and famous people, places, and events, right? And these audiences are less interested to know about common people, common places, and common events, right? And this is very interesting. And the students of journalism and communication must keep it in mind, because as they graduate from the university, they will be working in the field of journalism and communication. So all these things they will be facing, they will be tackling all these news values in the field. So audiences basically want to know about famous people, they want to know about the celebrities, about the politicians and other people, and similarly they want to know about the famous places, what has happened in those areas, right? So a news an activity which takes place in for example in Murray or in Naran, right? So people or tourists would love to know about those things, or if any new development has takes place in Murray or in Naran or Kolam or in other tourist spots. So audiences, they would love to know about it, right? And similarly, events, certain events that are very famous. So audiences, they want to know about it. They want to have more information about it. And these audiences, on the other hand, they do not want to know about common people because and similarly they do not want to know about common places and events, right? So this is very important for the students of journalism and communication to keep it in mind. So this slide we have already discussed it in the part one, and for your understanding, I am going to discuss it again. So we came to know, and at that time, I asked a question from you people that why Shoaib Malik, why Hassan Ali, and why celebrities are placed or they are given coverage in the media, and why certain section of the society they are given coverage in the media, and other sections of the society they are not given coverage in the media. So the reason is that media give coverage to prominent people. Shoaib Malik, he is not a common person. He is a prominent person. He represents Pakistan. He is a Pakistani cricketer. Similarly, Hassan Ali, again, he is a cricketer. He represents Pakistan. So that is the reason that we are having their news in the media. And similarly, celebrities, again, they are different from common people, different from the common people in the sense that they have done something, right? They have given something to the society. They are, I mean, they are representing Pakistan, their country, on different forums, right? So they are not the common people, and that is the reason that whenever something happens with them, for example, Shoaib Malik remains unhurt in accident, right? So he had an accident, and luckily he remained unhurt in that very accident. So we are going to give news about Shoaib Malik, and similarly Hassan's Ali wedding ceremony. So surely media personnel they are going to give news on him, and similarly celebrities. If other common people they are collecting and helping the flood victims, and at the same time celebrities are doing it. So yes, the news of the celebrities will come, and at the same time the news of the common people should come in the newspaper that they are I mean that they are helping the flood victims. So look at this example. It has been taken from the Dawn.com, and Federal Education Minister Shafat Mahmood, he says that no exams to take place in the country till June 15. So what happened that he is not a common person. He is a minister, and that is the reason that we value his decisions and announcements, and that is the reason that we have him in the newspaper. And look at this story. Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi urges Canada to reconsider decision to suspend flights from Pakistan. So we know about Shah Mahmood Qureshi, who is a foreign minister. Again, not a common person. He is a prominent figure, and that is the reason that we are having their his I mean decision or request or I mean statements in the newspaper. And similarly, U.S. agency and other news which we can find in the newspaper. So what happened that the students must keep it in mind that if something happens with the prominent people, right? For example, a politician who is going in a car and he has some issue or some problem on the road, so a story can be filed on him. And similarly celebrities or other people, famous people, prominent people, if they have any sort of problem or something happens with them, good or bad, so the media they are going to file stories on them. Let's have another example of the prominence, and this time we approach the phenomenon of the prominence news value from a very different angle, and this is what we usually discuss in the area of the sociology of news. And what happened that if you see this Dawn newspaper, and you will find that we have a limited number of news, and the first one, the second one, the third one, and similarly the fourth, sixth, and the seventh one. It means that we have got very limited news on the front page of the newspaper, and you will come to know that most of the news they belong to the prominent people. For example, the first news which says that West cannot dictate decisions. Those minister. So this is the statement of the minister. This is not the statement of a common person. And then we have the second story about the election commission Pakistan, and then we have the news from the Afghanistan, US, right? That the US are leaving Afghanistan. So what will be the condition, and what are the thinking of the local people in Afghanistan? And then we have again COVID-19, right? So it means that at the front page of the newspaper is like the nose or the face of something, right? Where we find the most important items or news. It means that, according to Dawn, what they are saying is that these are the most important news that they are presenting it to the world, to the audience, right? So, although it doesn't mean that we do not find news regarding common people, common Pakistanis, but it will appear on the inside pages, right? It will not, you will not find it on the very front page of the newspaper, right? And it's not only about the Dawn newspaper. If you search and read other newspapers, you will come to know about the same thing. The same sociology of news is repeated in the Urdu newspaper as well. And again, in the we have it in the broadcast journalism as well, right? And this is very strange that we are tackled, and our ideology is made in such a way, and we even don't know about it. This is very, I mean, interesting. So let's have another example so that you can understand the sociology of the news, although it is not our topic, uh, but I'm going to give you a bit of the information about it. So this time it is taken from the news, and I took it intentionally from the news so that you can understand that it is not only the dawn, it is not only the news, it is not only the BBC or BBC Urdu or CNN or I mean other news channels. It is the same pattern that they are repeating and they are following nationally and internationally. The same pattern. We find the most important or the prominent people on top of the newspaper or on top of the bulletin where we find their news. Look at this newspaper, right? So the very first story, it is talking about the security issues, and then they are talking about the politics, and then from the COVID story, and then COVID story, and then so we have another from the politics. So it means that you can see that we are not having, I mean, stories of the common people, right? So the same pattern that we discussed in the previous slides when we were explaining the Dawn newspaper, and then look at this one, G7 meeting in I mean, in London, right? And then PSL matches. I mean, the future of the PSL matches will be decided in the PCB meeting, a very important meeting that they are going to discuss whether PSL matches has to be organized or not, right? So if you look at the sociology of these news, so you will come to know that the prominent personalities, the prominent people are given space on the very front page. So, news about Prime Minister or ministers, MPS, DG, ISPR, 14th August, COVID updates, etc. All of them, they are important. And they are important and prominent. And that is the reason that people or audiences, they want to know more about their announcements or decisions, right? And this prominence, it is a very important component of the news value. And whenever we go into the field, so what happened that these people most of the times they speak to the public with through media, and these prime minister, ministers, MPs, and DGISPR and other people, they hold press conferences on a regular basis, and it is their responsibility, a responsibility of the journalist, to go there, cover it, and give that information to the audiences. So prominence is the second news value, and it has a great role in the journalism field. Now, a question arises that what about common people, places, and events? And this question is usually asked in the classes. Unfortunately, we do not have regular classes, and otherwise, we would have discussed this very point quite in detail. The thing is that media is not for the common people, for the common places, or for the common events, as we have already discussed in the previous slides. it is actually prominence or prominent people, places, or events, because they are the people that who make decisions and announce it, and it will be or it can be implemented on the people on large scale, right? So common people, places, or events, they are not included in the media, and it cannot be, because how many people, what is the population of Pakistan? So if we think that all of them, there will be coverage in the media, so it is never possible, because we will be very selective. We will be very selective in the sense that we will select those people who are in authority, and their decisions, their announcements bring change in the society, bring change in the life of the people. So media is going to give coverage to those people. So if you say that this is injustice with the common people, so it would be something else. But on the other hand, media personnel cannot take all the common people and give them coverage. So let's discuss magnitude, which is the next news value, and which is also known as impact. So you should not be confused with magnitude or impact. They means the same thing. And I hope that you will know the very meaning of the magnitude or the impact. Impact means that how it affects, right? Positive impact or negative impacts. It means effects, right? So magnitude, let's discuss that how it is used in the field of journalism. And we are going to discuss and elaborate it with different examples. So magnitude means that how many people are affected by an event, right? So it means that how many people are affected by an event or decision or issue, right? And it will mean that the greater magnitude news or information will mean that that very information or news is affecting a great number of people, and low magnitude news or information will mean that it affects less number of people. And what happened that the problem with our media is that we always want to quantify something. We want to show something to the audiences, that it is for all the people. It is a generalized phenomenon, like, and the people as a result, or the audience as a result, will take interest in that very news or information. So the same thing is here. We are dealing with the numbers, with the quantification that an event, an issue, or a decision which affects greater number of people, then what will happen that the media organizations are going to give it more coverage as compared to the less magnitude news, right? We came to know about the greater magnitude news or information and the low magnitude news or information. The greater magnitude news will have greater impact on I mean higher number of people, while low magnitude news will have less impact on less number of people, right? And let me explain it with the help of the example, and I hope that you will understand it in a very comprehensive manner. So look at the first example. A road accident having one injured will have less impact than the accident having five injured. So it means that, for example, if two accidents have taken place, in one accident, only one passenger is injured, while in the other one, five passengers are injured. So what do you think? Which news or which information will come in the media, or which news will occupy more space as compared to another one, right? So there are two scenarios. So which news or information will occupy more space as compared to another one? Well, surely the second one, the second accident will be find five passengers injured, and it is possible that the first accident, that the first news about the accident in which only one passenger is injured, maybe this news is deleted, right? Maybe it is not covered and it will not come in the media. While the second news in which five people are injured, it is going to come in the news, right? And this is interesting that you will be thinking that why accident number two in which five persons are injured, and why not the first one? Why this I mean subjectivity? Why we are taking sides, and who are we to decide that the second accident should occupy more space as compared to the first one? And this is what we are going to discuss in the coming slide as well. So the second one, look at the second example. We have, I mean, still we are reading about the news about COVID-19, right? The disease which has affected the world and different nations of the world. So we are still reading these news. We are still having these information about the COVID-19, and it is very interesting that I mean, after passing 1 years for the last, I mean, more than 1 years, news are continuously coming about COVID-19, COVID-19, and we are reading it, and this is very interesting because audiences or people do not want to listen or read news on the very second day. For example, if you give news on the very first day, and then you want to give news or developing story on the second day, then audiences may not be interested in that very news. But still, in this COVID-19, we are reading and listening and watching this news. Why? The reason is that this news is affecting the whole of the world. I mean, national and international media, all of them, they are covering it. The reason is that it has affected the globe, and it is actually the impact or the magnitude of the news that we are covering it. So we came to know, let me summarize it. We came to know that an event, a decision or issue which affects a large number of people, it will be more valuable news or information as compared to the information which affects less number of people. And so this is another news value. And keeping this news value in mind, you people will be working and searching such information which affects greater number of people. So let's have the very first example, and let's discuss it from the perspective of the magnitude or impact. And the title of the story is PhD thesis defended. And you can see that it is a very short story, first of all, a very short story. And if you want to count the number of the words, right, even you can count it because it is not a lengthy story. And some of the space has been occupied by this Google Aids that I closed down. So it is a short story, and this is interesting that you'll find this PhD thesis defended story always in the inside pages. You will never ever find it on the front page or the big page of the newspaper. There will be one condition that you can find you may find it on the front or in the big page, and it will be that, for example, if a prime minister or any of the, for example, governor or or for example, chief ministers or any of the, I mean, ministers, if they had completed or they had defended their PhD thesis successfully, then it may come on the front page or on the big page. But for the common people, for example, if I'm doing, or if even if you people are doing it, then it will always appear in the inside pages. It will never come on the front page or on the big page, right? So, and another interesting fact, that whenever it comes on the inside pages, it will always be in the form of the single column story, right? It will be given in a single column story. The reason is that affects very less number of people, right? I mean, it will affect only the friends, the relatives, and neighbors of the person who has defended his PhD thesis successfully. That's all, right? And I mean, it is not affecting other people, for example, the whole of the area or the province or the country, right? And in the coming slides, we are going to discuss other examples, and you will come to know that what does the impact news value mean, right? As the impact increases, or a news story that impacts greater or I mean, higher number of people, the greater will be the space and the brighter position of their story will be, right? So let's discuss magnitude or impact with the help of more examples, so that in order to make it easier for you people to understand. Unfortunately, the university is closed. Otherwise, we would be discussing different dimensions of the magnitude, so that it becomes easy for you people, that whenever you go into the field, so that it is easy for you people to understand that what actually magnitude means. And we would have carried out dummy exercises in the classes. Unfortunately, due to COVID-19, we do not have normal classes. So we are trying our level best to experiment as simply as possible. So look at this example. It is taken from the Daily Mashriq, and this is page number 3 over here. Unfortunately, it has been cut down, but this is page number 3. And we have a crime story over here, and according to this crime story, there is a conflict between two tribes on a piece of land, and three people are injured. So this story has been given in the form of three column. I mean, it is a three-column story, 1, 2, and 3. Although this story continues on the very next page as well, but it is a three-column story, and three people are injured. So a question to think that why the story has been given on the page number 3, right? This is what I want to ask from you people, or this is what we want to discuss, that why the story has been given on this page number 3, right? This very story, why it is not on the front page, or why it is not on the big page, right? Because we know that as the page number continues, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at the same time, the importance of the new stories that decreases. A story that appears on the front page is more valuable than the news that appears on the big page, and similarly the news that appears on the big page is more valuable than the news that appear on the inside pages. So this page number 3, it is an inside page, so the news which appears over here may not be so valuable, may not be so important as compared to the big page or the front page of the newspaper, right? So this is a three-column story, and let's discuss in the very next page that how another story has been given on the very front page. So see this very example, and this time it has been taken from the Daily Aj, and according to it, it says that there has been a road accident in which 15 people, 15 passengers, unfortunately has died, and the bus was coming from Lahore to Mardan, and 35 people are injured, while 15 passengers they are dead, right? So it is a very terrible road accident which has taken place, and really sad story. So look at this story, that why this story has been given on the very front page. So this is the front page of the newspaper that I have taken of the from the Daily Arch, and this very story has been given on the very top position, right? And we can now say that why this very story has been given on the front page and again on the very top position, and again, so we can see that how many column story it is. It is 1, 2, 3, and 4 column story, and it continues on the very next page as well. So why the story on the very front page, and why it occupies more space as compared to other stories that comes on the big page or inside pages? Well, the answer to this question is magnitude or impact that the journalist has uh, made for themselves, right? It is a yardstick which says that a new story that affects a large number of people will have more will be more valuable as compared to other news, right? So this is the case over here, that this very news is occupying the key position on the very front page of the Daily Dawn, right? And it is just because of the impact that it affects large number of people. So another interesting fact about the impact news value is that different scholars and people criticize impact news value, and you will be thinking that why they criticize it. They criticize it because they say that media over here is partial. They are subjective. The reason is that they give less coverage to an event that affects a small number of people, while on the other hand, media gives more coverage to an event that affects large number of people. So they say, I mean, according to different scholars and people, they say that media over here is partial. They are subjective. Media is no one to decide that which news or information has to be given more coverage. It should come on the front page or it should come on the big page. And the media personnel, they are no one. because the life of a single person is equal to the life of I mean the many people. It doesn't mean that the life of one person is not important or less important, right? That is the reason that different scholars and people, they are criticizing it, and they demand from the journalism scholars, from the communication scholars, to revisit these news values, because they are not justified, and it has to be revisited. So let me ask you a very simple question, and the question is: do we really have impact news value in the same way in journalistic field as we have discussed? So the answer to this question is yes, we have it in the same way. It is not some theoretical phenomenon that we are discussing it, right? That in the part one we discussed, in the part two we are discussing it, and then in the part three we are going to conclude our this presentation. So it is a practical phenomenon, and the three-part series, it shows the value and the importance of this very topic, and it is very practical. Remember, as you graduate and join the practical field, over there you will feel that it is truly practical. And when I was working in the field, I faced the same problem. I thought that it would be some a theoretical concept that we studied in the department, but then I felt and I realized that it is absolutely and 100% practical. And I was thinking, I used to think that why some news are given top position, some are given second position, third position, fourth position, some news are bigger, some news are smaller. What is the reason? Then later on, with the passage of time, and as I got experience, then I came to know that it is actually the news values that decides these their positions, their placements, and their length, right? So it is absolutely a practical phenomenon. So in the resource section, this URL will take you to a website where you will have more information about the news values, and a very detailed description and explanation is given in this website. Please copy paste it and must read it out. And then we have a book which has been written by these scholars, and the title of the book is News Values. And then another book, The Discourse of News Values: How News Organizations Create Newsworthiness. These are the books which will give you more and extra information about the news values, right? So it will be very good if you search these books on the Google search engine, and to study some of the one chapter or some of the chapters from these books. So it will be very interesting. So this is the end of today's session. See you in the next lecture. Till that, stay home, stay safe. Allah Hafiz.